practical reason why people should
Okay, I think
include
we're
their.
back. I don't know why we just went
Okay.
black.
We're back.
That
Sorry
was
for the
really
crash,
weird.
viewers.
Yeah, apparently something
What
crashed.
What I was saying is that some shops won't give you the information on what's in their stuff, and it's kind of fucking problematic.
Mm.
Because like, what if somebody has an allergy, right? And like, say
Yes.
you're doing some herbs and there's patchouli in there, right? And someone's deathly allergic to patchouli, but you don't disclose that information on the product because you're trying to protect your proprietary material. Legally speaking, you're fucked,
Yeah.
right? It's really bad that we do this in the witchcraft community, and in no other fucking industry is it really that permissible to not disclose what materials are in something that people
Right.
are going to aerosolize or burn and potentially consume and ingest through inhalation, right?
Especially
That's a major fucking issue.
Especially if your things are prepared in a ritualistic fashion. So I could understand maybe not providing the exact incantation that you used, or maybe the working, I guess, if you wanted to keep your working secret, right? If that's what you wanted to do. But definitely the components, like the physical things that are in the thing that you're making or whatever, you need to disclose that because of allergies. And one, because it's just morally good, because allergies are very real, okay? But also the fact that like people will sue the balls off of you and they don't care. So protect yourself. Cover your ass. Protect your secrets,
say
but cover
this.
your ass.
Trying to say in
Wise words.
court, I didn't want to give away my information so I could protect my business, will not hold up under
No.
manslaughter charges. It just will not.
Mm-mm.
Or somebody suing for damages, or like their, I don't know, hospital bill after they have to call 911 and go to the hospital to have somebody like administer antihistamines or some shit like that, you know.
Right.
It's not a good position to put yourself in.
And that's
period.
why
We should not be doing that.
a lot of shops, especially online shops, you know, they usually will put that little sold as a curio on all their items. And I really think that's just because of it's just a legal CYA. Unfortunately, that is the sort of the drawbacks of modern society, right? Like, we don't live in a society where you go to the local witch and you get your unmarked bottle of cough syrup or whatever, and you know, and make your
It's
way home.
heroin.
It's just not what you do in today's world. You're buying something that has a label on it and it's branded and it has ingredient list and maybe it's got the calorie content. I don't know. Like,
Gotta have the nutrition facts on there. Like, gotta know
Yeah.
how much sugar's in it.
you know, how much moon
Yeah, I
magic
don't-
is in this?
I don't know how the laws work in America, but in Canada, it's not illegal to sell magic stuff if it works. Okay, the only way that
I
you
don't
can
know.
actually get reprimanded is if you do magic for people and they pay for it, and then they can prove that it didn't happen. Then they can
Ugh.
take you to court and sue you for failed magic.
That seems
Which
a
is
little
so odd, especially
sketch.
because, correct me if I'm wrong, Sophia, but wasn't like the practice of magic like illegal up until like a really weirdly recent
I don't
amount
even
of time
know. I
in
don't even
Canada?
know.
I thought like they had a whole thing where like you could like technically still be arrested for practicing witchcraft in Canada
I'll
up
tell you
until like
this.
the 90s or something.
If you're indigenous, probably, yeah. They were
Maybe in
probably
certain
doing it fucking
provinces.
as long as they could. As far as like up into the 90s, I don't believe so. I
wasn't
never, as
sure.
long as I've heard of heard of like a white woman Wiccan getting arrested for doing a ritual in Canada. It just didn't happen. And if it happened, I didn't hear about it, you know.
Right.
Gotcha.
I don't know what the laws are actually in America. I know we're very particular about our religious freedom laws, but we're also very
Borderline
particular about
Anglican.
what we call a religion. Now, I just have issues with Scientology there. I said it. And not to make this the Scientology episode, but the fact that Scientology is still allowed to exist as a religion bothers
The
me.
fact that the Catholic Church is still.
I
allowed
mean,
to
if you look at
exist
what a
as
religion constitutes in most
Yep.
of American society, a religion isn't necessarily like a legitimate practice,
Right.
faith, and organization with shared beliefs. More
Yeah.
often than not, it's some type of like tax loophole
Yeah.
society arrangement where you can exercise some form of like political or financial or social power through networking and controlling
That's
other people to have the same opinion as you.
yeah, and like the Satanic Temple, so like they officially are a legal religion and they're a religious organization, and you know they went through the legal loopholes to do that, um and honestly, like I think the motivating factor is like whatever tax breaks you get, I guess, right, for being a religion,
Mm.
um but it is important to have that legal like backing, I guess. I don't know.
Do you
See,
want me to explain
I
a little
think.
bit of what we've had dealt with trying to fucking make DKMU legal?
Oh, so have you been? Has there been a
There's been
push?
discussions about it, right?
Mm,
So remember how you said the whole I don't know why you wouldn't want to why you'd want to make a religion other than not paying taxes. I can explain why. So if you have a group like DKMU and there's like several hundred people, and say you want to do mutual aid, right? Say a
mm-hmm.
member needs like 10 grand for a fucking surgery and you want
Right.
to do a charity for them, right? If you're going to have like stuff set up that people can donate to, you need to be a legal organization and you need to have it like flying through the IRS
Yeah.
slash Canada Revenue Agency, right? You can't do that shit off the books. So any type of mutual aid or network building that really gets to a certain level of infrastructure kind of necessitates having like an organization attached to the name or like a religion.
Mm,
It doesn't have to be like a proper megachurch religion for this purpose of like avoiding taxes, right?
right.
But there is a lot of tangible things that you can do as a group and an organization that you simply can't do as an individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even as a collective of individuals, right? So, like an organization can purchase land, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works in the States, but I'm pretty sure you could do it up here, right? Like companies do it all the fucking time. I don't see why an org couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like, um, you can, like I said, donate to members who need a surgery. And like if we've talked about DKMU way houses a lot, the idea of having
Mm-hmm.
like houses set up in different areas that traveling
Oh
magicians who
my
are in need
god.
could come and have like a room to crash in and like have a network of other magicians in
This
the
is
area to work with. It's
exactly what you
it's
are
also
describing right now is exactly what I have been fucking
mhm,
fantasizing about for the
yes.
last forever of my life.
It would also be a really good method for helping people get off the streets, because one of the hard things about living on the streets is the intermediate phase where you're like
Yes.
trying to get back to living, but like you don't have access to not to say you're not living when you're on the street, but like living within society, and you don't have access to like services like being able to wash your clothes reliably enough to like be presentable, air quotations, to a corporation who would then hire you and allow
Right.
you to have that stuff. Fuck, even the limitations of how much our society demands you have access to technology, and if you don't have like a smartphone or a computer, you can't even apply to a lot of modern job positions.
Yes.
We're starting to get to such a state of society where our problems are eclipsing our solutions,
Yes.
and people who fall through the gaps don't have a lot of safety nets to catch them, right?
No.
So we also
And you
have a
need
lot
an
of homeless magicians.
organization, and you need an
Hmm.
organization behind that, like to fund it, to support it. Like you
Yeah.
need that.
So realistically, if you want to do real good in the world, like not to say you can't do good otherwise, but like if you want to make some
Form a
serious
religion.
fucking tangible change, not just form a religion, but form an organization, work with a network, work with a union, right? You are so much more able to achieve stuff in your life when you do it with a group that rather than doing it alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why corporations want you to feel so hopeless and isolated, because they know that realistically, if you're not isolated, you're not fucking hopeless, because you're in a network of people who push on each other and reinforce the good things that they need to do to make the world fucking be a better place through positive change. And that's the exact opposite of what's profitable to them. So of course they want people fucking disempowered and thinking that they can't do anything and that they have to do it all on their own. And that's why you only ever get narratives of like the lone hero and his friends who change shit. because it's engineered in the opposite of what would actually make a difference, which is collective power and collective bargaining, right?
I see that issue right now, like in our very small little local circle, we're going through that where, there's someone who needs a lot of support from the community, and we're trying to rally, and it's very limited in what we can provide because it's just so small. And every time I'm just like, man, like, God, I wish like we could just form, like, I don't know, like the International Pagan Temple or something, just something,
Technically, you
call it
can.
something,
You
and
need to meet the basic legal
but
requirements.
the thing
and you can.
is you need money behind it. Like that's the thing, is like you need resources and money. So if you have a bunch of poor people get together and form an organization, well, y'all are still going to be broke as an organization, because you just don't have that kind of money. And like I think that's the thing that just has always frustrated me so much, is like I see this Catholic Church, I see this large organization, right? And they just have all this years and centuries of power and money behind them. And like they took that away from us. Like, not saying that we used to have some big pagan temple. No, we were many different people with many different cultures and many different gods. So only now are we trying to unify under one sort of maybe umbrella sort of term, because that's the only way that we're going to be like okay, is if we kind of just come together in at least some sort of overarching capacity. I think, like, not to be like every occultist and every Wiccan and every this and every that has to call themselves a pagan or whatever, but like just pick an umbrella term that we can all put ourselves under so we can have some legal protection. Or
there is, it's funny because unfortunately the history of this has been done, I believe, twice now, but unfortunately it always devolves into some very strange
infighting bullshit.
Well, there were these people originally years ago. I think we were, at least I was just getting into high school, I think. I really didn't pay much attention to it, but I remember looking back and hearing about sort of the second time it happened, which was only a couple years ago. There were people that were trying to start like the pagan council or whatever,
right?
And they were essentially trying to be the sort of the umbrella, the Vatican of pagans. They were essentially trying to be like, but the problem is that one, it's just pagan is too
broad.
It's too broad, and you can't, like, there's not like one brush stroke, you know what I mean, that just that can paint us all. So even amongst us, we don't all 100% agree on
everything,
right? So it quickly kind of becomes, I don't know, infighting, like you said.
So that's where I'm thinking maybe it needs to be
falls apart.
less of like one council, right? And more of like, hey, if you want in on this coalition,
A conglomerate,
then send one or two representatives from your organization, from your group, and then you form like a senate, basically.
What, the Witch United Nations?
The Witch UN, yeah.
Can we just like also find
I would like to form an alliance.
I want to backtrack a little bit though, because you're talking about getting money into these things to make them work, right? And how it feels so unfeasible because a lot of us are broke. Also, I'm hearing Matt echo.
Yeah.
Not sure who that is.
I think that's Mike, but it's fine.
Sorry, I was moving my
Oh, you're good.
table thing.
Here's the thing: we're fucking witches, right? I hate to break it to you, we don't need billions and billions of dollars to make a difference. All you need is a couple friends who have decent jobs who make like $250,000 a year, right? And who are willing to donate shit and live on reasonable means. In fact, you want to know what's a really untapped, financially flush demographic? Coders. Oh, and who's often very queer? Coders. Oh, wow. And who also tends to do a lot of magic? Coders. Huh. Would you look at that? The tech industry would be a great place to start. And where else could we go from there? Well, you see, rich people get bored all the time, right? All the fucking time. Traditionally, they're as bored with life as it gets.
That's why they create so many problems.
Well, but hear this out. Why not magically invoke a trend where, I don't know, rich people suddenly find magic and secret societies really fashionable and they want to join like occult communities and actually partake in shit like group rituals
I
with
just feel
PKM
like
doing.
they'd
I don't
form
know.
their
Imagine what
own.
one. No, 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 not form their own. That's a problem, right? Imagine if they wanted to join the ones that are already pre-existing, right? Because if they form their own, they're just gonna make the fucking Bavarian Illuminati 2.0, right? Um, those of you who think I'm being paranoid, look it up. The Bavarian Illuminati actually fucking existed. It was made by Adam Weishaupt. It was like in the fucking 18th or 17th century. I can't remember exactly which date it was. They piggybacked off of the structure of the Freemasons and took over Freemason lodges and temples, and were a very big problem to the point where they had to have like a king decree that they were outlawed and like fucking kill people over it and shit because they were like doing plots to take stuff over. It was a whole ass thing. So when people talk about like the modern Illuminati conspiracy theories, it's not just actually pulled out of fucking thin air. Like the Bavarian Illuminati did exist, right?
Hmm.
And that's why there is a collective paranoia about rich people coming together and making secret societies, because traditionally it doesn't tend to be very good for the fucking world, right?
No, not usually. Doesn't pan out.
And I'll tell you something. I know a few rich people,
BlackRock
and I won't name
Galactics.
names. They're part of groups of other rich people who have plans to work together should bad shit happen, right? Now, some of the people I know are actually really cool, and their plans to work together is like going and setting up in-person relief chains to make sure like people get chainsawed out of their fucking houses if like trees fall on them, right? And this is mostly because I know people from small town areas where you have to take care of you're in your own. You're not having like the city workers come and do all that shit all the time, right? But big city billionaires, it's a very fucking different thing. You get all them together and you get them making their own fucking secret society, and next thing you know, they're talking about how to cook the books for I don't know, Canada, so that they can liquidate the housing market to unreal low levels so they can swoop in and fucking buy everything and create mass investments. Don't listen, you fucking fiends. I know you're listening to this and rubbing your fucking hands right now. Just kidding. They don't care enough about us to listen to
No,
us.
God, no.
The
We are
point
not
being,
on their radar.
not even close.
No.
Point being, you want rich people
Somebody
to
is
integrate
listening,
with
they just don't
pre-existing
care.
structures rather than generate their own, right? Because they're going to be prone to their own echo chamber style behavior, right?
Mhm.
And like we know that certain billionaires, let's say Elon Musk, for example, he finds hallucinogenics enticing, right? Maybe a trend happens where some of them take it and get to a point where they realize they've distanced themselves so far from the common man, and they want to find like a way to reintegrate, right? And maybe that happens through like anonymous interaction with like occult groups online, and
I
they
just got
become like
this
benefactors.
I just got this like visual in my head of like there's like this ritual circle, right? And like it's like everyone's like in a black robe because it's got to be black robes, right? Like everyone's in this like circle in black robes, and someone's holding a ornate sword, and this billionaire just comes in like on their knees, like begging for forgiveness, and like, I wish to be human again, make me human again. And like it's this big ritual thing, and the first thing we do is we take all your fucking bank accounts and we distribute the wealth evenly.
Well, that's a little
motherfucker.
extreme. You wanna ease the fucker into it, right? You don't want to just like give him the stick immediately. You got to put the carrot on the end first, right?
Black lab.
You have to reconnect
Yes,
them with their
maybe
empathy
black lab
first,
coats instead
right?
of black robes, but yes.
You have to reconnect them with their empathy first and get them to realize that they never stopped being a human being. They only isolated themselves from other human beings and tried to build themselves as a monolith, right? And through experiencing compassion and humility, they can radically heal themselves and reposition themselves socially so that they're no longer dominating and domineering the entire world through like lack of understanding themselves, but they can actually like transmutate all the horrible fucking energies inside them and like I don't know, utilize Amazon as the biggest distribution network on the planet and use that fucking massive wealth to fix every fucking problem that's ever existed, because one man is currently capable of doing that. And I think it is a failing of a witch community that we don't try and aim more spells at people who are really high up to draw them into the fold rather than attack and isolate them, right? Because they're already fucking isolated. That's the problem to begin with, right? If you get them to reintegrate, and get them to see their humanity and to see the humanity of everybody else that they've denied agency to, they can heal.
Is
They
that
can
possible though?
realize
Like
what the fuck.
that's
Yes. Why wouldn't it be? Why
I
the fuck
just
wouldn't
don't
it
know.
be?
I just feel like these they are just so gone. Like I just don't feel like they're here anymore. Like their soul
No.
has left the building.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
I
think
believe.
that
Go ahead, Scott. I talked a lot.
no, it's okay. I think that everybody has the ability to change. I think that
Fair, yeah.
I think that the thing that makes it awful is the fact that they are human.
Mm.
You know, it's not so much about the inhumane things that they do. I mean, it is, but I mean to say, like, they're not they're no less human. Just what they do is inhumane,
Right.
and I think the reason why we dehumanize them is because what they do is so monstrous. That's what I was trying to
Right,
say.
there's a disconnect there. It's like
Yes.
how
Right, but
can you be a human being and then do all of that shit?
I think what you have to realize is that the mindset, and once again, I'm not saying, like, you know, I'm not asking people to forgive. I'm
No.
just saying to think about it logically. The people that we're talking about right now, and in particular we're talking about billionaires. The thing about them is that they exist in a world that is very different from everyone else's.
Yeah.
Um, they don't experience life the same way as the general person does.
Mm.
I apologize, everyone. Hold on one second.
No worries.
They don't experience life the way everyone else does, and they a lot of them, you know, you have to keep in mind too that they have families of their own, and they raise their children who never, like, you know, they grew up in it. You know, they're
Right.
just born in it.
They don't know any
And
different.
this social bubble that exists, they're born with, as sad as it is, but they created their own culture in that bubble, and you know, their view of the world and the way that it works is completely different. And the thing is like, even from my friends, I have a friend who grew up with, well, not like billions of dollars worth of wealth, but wealth
Right.
nevertheless, and he still kind of is astonished by what wealth looks, or what lack of wealth looks like
Mm.
for, you know, the working poor, for the poor, you know, and the, you know, the homeless, etc. There are things about poorness and lacking wealth that he is completely unaware of. And when me and my partner tell him about our experiences growing up with single moms and everything else, he's like, "Wow, really?" And, you know, to us, you know, at first we were kind of taken back because we're like, "This isn't obvious for you," you know, but
Right.
it's not.
Right.
You know, and again, I'm not trying to say that these people aren't doing awful things, the billionaires that we're talking about, or at least, you know, putting money towards awful things, but they can't see past themselves
Mm.
and the culture that they've created, which is why, you know, as I've said before, many times before on this podcast, um, you know, there's evidence to suggest that they don't even see other poor people, as the same, um, almost like the same species. That might be a little bit critical, but they
Mm.
definitely see us as other.
Right. There is an
Yeah, you're spot
otherness.
on
We're
there.
not,
They do treat us like we're an entirely different species.
Yeah.
right. You know, because they can't conceptualize the lives that we live. They don't know
What it's like to go without.
for us, it's hard to imagine, like, how is your head so far, you know, buried in the sand. But the thing is that, and you know, to give perspective, just as they can't see it from our perspective, we can't see it from theirs.
And that is a problem. It should not be that way. Like that's the thing is like we are all humans, and so there should not be a batch of humans that's like living life one
Right.
particular way, and then there's another batch of humans that's like it's like indentured servitude kind, you know what I mean? So like we're just
That's exactly what it
indebted
fucking
to
is.
your parents, families, companies that run all this shit. You employ us, yes, but do you employ us fairly? Why? So if you employ us, why are you living in the lap of luxury and we're still struggling? Like, shouldn't we have like a decent existence? at least.
Yeah,
But
and that's why I say that reintegration is important, right? I think it's kind of the failing of our radical movements that we don't aim higher,
so
right?
this is what
Like,
DKMU needs to do. The first step is DKMU needs to open their first billionaire rehabilitation clinic.
to be honest, I've fielded the idea to a few people of exactly what I've talked about today, but I didn't really get much responses or even care or consideration for the idea from the people I talked to it
I
about.
loved the
And to
idea
be
of like
honest,
safe houses and like way station, like
oh,
just all that kind of
the
shit.
way
Like I love
houses
that.
is a hit, right?
Oh, okay.
The idea of rehabilitating a billionaire is
Is
not,
not, and
right?
I can see why
Because
though.
the thing is, a lot of people have been wounded on such a deep level that they don't want justice, they want vengeance.
They
And
just
I
want
can't
blood.
tell
Yeah.
them they're wrong. I wouldn't say they want blood, they want vengeance,
Right.
right? It's a different thing. Vengeance doesn't have to be blood. Vengeance is an idea of justice that gets taken too far,
Right. Like I
in
want
my
you to lose
opinion,
everything.
right? Not even necessarily to lose everything, right? Sometimes vengeance is just wanting someone to suffer the way that you have.
Right.
And
Right.
I look on that type of energy, and I'm always tremendously sad when I see someone who suffers and goes through that much pain, and the place that they end up at is suffer as I have, to quote
Right.
Ramatra from fucking Overwatch 2, right? It's
Mhm.
not a good place to be at, you know? I don't
No.
think that ultimately the solution to humanity lies there. Like I was saying last episode, if all of humanity could get therapy for free, we'd be able to fix everything in 10 fucking years because we'd all have spent the time working on ourselves and each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And see, this is why, like, the yeah, that the need for vengeance. It's not. What happens is it actually further perpetuates
The
the
problem.
divide.
Yeah.
Right. We can't. You cannot make change when you're fighting with somebody. This is just simple human behavior, right? You're no longer listening when someone wants to bring you harm.
Mm.
Now, one of these harms might be just
Hmm.
and one of them might be unjust, but the problem is that we're not talking about that. We're talking purely objective here, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want to harm some, and I say harm. Harm is amorphous. Insert kind of harm here, whatever that harm may be. But they can't see it anymore because then it becomes you're my enemy.
Right.
And
Like
the thing is that
I was just thinking, like, I truly think that I'd like to believe that people wouldn't, but like, suppose we got, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk in a ring of people with a bunch of rocks. People would definitely throw those rocks. Like, those
Without
rocks would
hesitation.
be thrown
yeah,
100%,
which
even
right,
though
which is
there could be an attempt at, like, I don't, there, you could not throw the rocks. You could choose to not throw
Okay,
the
let me
rocks.
advocate for throwing the rocks too, though, at the same time, okay? Let's say that you actually manage to turn the tables to the point where you have those people in a pit, and you get
Right,
one chance to rehabilitate them, and
right,
they get out. Do you really think they're going to just magically go back to the ways that they used to, right? Do you really think that they will not take the opportunity to harm people once again? Like,
right,
it's been shown a lot that people are very willing to change when there's a metaphorical gun to their head. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah,
But when it comes to like, you need to make the hard changes, right? People are more likely willing to take a bit of a lazy route on that, right? And I, for a fact, will not support the suffer like I have mentality, but I will also not support the violence is never the answer mentality either, because, sometimes it actually is, right? If you're in a situation where somebody is abusing you to the nth degree and you don't have anything else to take back your agency, sometimes it is the only and the most reasonable option to do so,
right. Especially,
Uh,
if there's physical things happening to you,
mhm.
like
There's
someone's
a time and a
throwing
place for
rocks
that.
at you.
you
Well, I
do have
think
to
you need
defend
to
yourself.
respond in kind.
You
Mhm.
do. I mean, like you can't be and even though I, do believe that should be the last resort,
Right.
because my whole thing, abolitionist and all, integration and whatnot. But see, this is why it's so difficult, and that's what I always say, because I empathize with the rage I empathize with the in a lot of ways I empathize with the call for revenge. I get it, and it's hard not to understand. Um and as Sophia said, like, you can only kick the dog so long before it bites you back. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is like, what I want is what I wish we could have is someone, people, organizations, what have you, to be able to step up and intervene to kind of create crisis intervention in a way that's equitable and fair to everyone, and not sort of like supplicate the masses to, allow the others to continue to do what they do. Um, it's none of this is easy,
Right.
right?
It's like, who is the judge and jury? You know what I mean? Like, who judges
I mean,
those in power?
thousands of years
Because
ago, like, we
people would
used to
say,
shun.
oh, sorry, but like people would say, like,
No.
for politicians, right? Like in the U.S., like, oh, the Supreme Court, that's our highest court in the land, and blah blah blah. But what happens when they're also corrupt?
Right.
You know?
Hmm. I mean, obviously what happened here in the United States with our Supreme Court was clearly,
Insidious.
I mean, it was insidious. I like that word. Thank you. It was a better word than I was going to use. Absolutely insidious, and it was very intentional. Um, yeah, I mean, like, there's no real easy way to talk about these things without getting angry.
Yeah.
The only thing is that I think managing expectations, managing our feelings. I think a big problem too, as far as those of us on, I guess, the left or what have you, or progressive ideologies, whatever. We kind of, our expectations are a little high. I think that we need to like I said, manage expectations. And I think control what we react to.
Right.
The petty conversations that are being had by ridiculous political pundits
Shut
who are not
up.
politicians themselves,
Like, shut
they're
up.
like although their words inflame the words of other idiots, but they're not as serious as the lawmakers who, like, who are passing laws that are harmful to trans people, or to queer people in general. They're not the same. Learn to pick your battles in a way that's smart. Put your energy where it's better used, and use that energy wisely. You don't have to give attention and energy to every fight, and it's unwise, because what's happening is that we burn out, we become more emotional, and then we cannibalize our own.
And fighting with people online is not going to get you anywhere. Like,
Right, it's not
responding
going
to
to
some
change anything. It's not
Trumpers
going to do
posts
anything.
ain't going to do
Right,
shit.
it's honestly all kind of a lot of the things that we do online is this might hurt some people's feelings, but the fact of the matter is that it doesn't do much. It doesn't get very far. It may feel good for you, but for a short period of time, because in the end, 9 times out of 10, we just end up sitting there pondering, or ruminating, I should say, on how much it hurt us, how much it made us angry. And then we're just sitting there getting more angry because it's not working. Nothing's stopping it, which all of this I agree with. So many times still to this day, I find myself writing very angry worded messages to stupid things I see online, and then I end up deleting it. Recently I've written like paragraphs of reply to, like, this is why I think you're completely uneducated, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Right.
And I have to like sit back, I have to regulate, control it, say these are just, cis heterosexual men with a podcast. Just delete your message and say, not interested, move on, get it, and just keep moving on. Because those people who are listening to that are not the people I am inherently, I mean, I would like to help them change, but the thing, and many of them could see, like, I know, like, a lot of teachers are talking about these young high school kids, boys in particular. They're all talking about, like, men like Andrew Tate. They're talking about this sort of strange sort of, like, the objectification of women and what have you, and they think that this is appropriate. But of course, they're teenagers, and they're incredibly as teenagers, we're all seeking self-identity.
Impressionable.
And
You're just looking for something to attach
right,
yourself
to
to.
form a sense
Yeah.
of self, right. And of course, it's brainwashing, it's not healthy. Um, and I think that they need better role models. Start centering people who are teaching better ways forward. We should be making sure that the people who are getting broadcasted around are people who are teaching etiquette to men, teaching men sexual health and safety and etiquette when looking for partner or partners, that kind of thing. And I don't mean to speak directly to straight people. Like I don't hate straight people or anything like
No.
that, but unfortunately y'all have a lot of work to do. I mean, so does everyone, but like y'all are the chunk of the problem. But like it's not all, like y'all have a responsibility, but I love you. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I love you, but work on your
Get your
shit.
shit together.
Exactly.
Then once again, that's not to say that queer people don't have a consent problem.
Also
I
get your
know.
shit together, queer people. You also need to do
God,
that
we
too.
do.
Stop trauma dumping on everyone you meet. Thank you.
Yes, and don't touch people without their permission at gay clubs.
Also that.
Gay clubs are not, being in a
For
gay
real.
club is not consent to touch them.
Correct.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ramble.
No, it's us.
No.
Even though we have a topic, there's always like about 16 tangents that happen, and that's fine. Because I think that's why people are still listening to this very day.
I'm actually really happy that like I've come to this place now where I'm very comfortable with being like careful with my words and how I talk, and it feels good. You know what
It's
I mean?
important because I wish more people would. Because like I used to be a really reactionary person. Like I definitely would be like, "Ah, fuck that up," and like even
too.
Scott can attest to that. Like when in our youth.
Fading fast.
Had a lot of opinions in my youth, and I made those opinions known. And like look, I have opinions that I just know that like I don't know, people really wouldn't dig. So like, don't fucking share them. You know what I mean? Like, I got hot
Mhm.
takes on everything, okay? But I'm not gonna. I know when and where to kind of share those things and who I can share them with. You know?
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I get nervous, like, um, being like, because I don't mean to be one of the things that I don't ever want to come off as is like hyper rational or hyper intellectualizing, because
Right.
it's not what I'm doing. I am just really focused on regulating, because I realized once 2016 hit, I started to realize that all the reacting, all the anger and the rage and the fear
Hmm.
started to really, really affect me, and my mental wellness and my mental health, which was already poor.
Hmm.
And then starting therapy in 2018, I was able to regulate it.
Mm.
And I started to realize that I can have my feelings and know right from wrong and know moral from amoral without sort of I don't know. Uh, I realized othering these people wasn't actually helping.
Right.
The thing is that like all relationships, all forms of intimacy, social intimacy included, it takes a lot of people to tango. You know what I'm saying? Like we're all
We're all in this rock together.
we're all here together. So failings, and this is weird, coming from somebody who always hated in school when the teacher would be like, if your classmates act bad, you're all punished, which I hated that.
Oh
But
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
in this context, when Pennsylvania is no longer getting snow and the world is getting warmer and the politics is exploding, like
And the bees are
in this
dying.
particular, in the global scale, we're all in this together and we're all kind of fucking up. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like in one way or another, once again, I'm not talking about morality. I'm not talking about all that. I'm just
I'm not
saying
talking
that
about the individual person too, because
I'm
like
talking about the collective, right? I'm
yeah,
talking about all of us together.
like I beat myself
Um,
up every day when I'm like, oh my god, I know that when I put my recycling out, like they're only gonna take like a tenth of it maybe and actually fucking recycle it.
but I mean, even that, right? Like,
Yeah.
even like the guilt we feel about like the environment, the thing about that is that like the people do so much less than what you think. The average person, the average family makes less of an impact than these big companies that are doing almost all of the impact.
Exactamundo.
So like
don't punish us because we need to buy these products.
Right. It's like to kind of bring this back a little bit to the topic at hand today. There was a big argument when Musically became TikTok. So we're talking early on. There
Back
was a
in the
big thing
day.
about
No.
when people would
Hey.
when people would bury jars, and they would say it harms the environment. And I was like, I get what you're getting at. Maybe don't use the metal caps, but um the thing is that a few practitioners of a minority tradition or religions, what have you, that bury jars for workings or religious purposes, what have you, is so minute.
Right.
Versus, again, the textile industry, big pharma, big power, all that fun stuff.
Also, the thing is, like, you're
It's not
burying the
even that
jar.
fucking bad. It's a
Right?
fucking jar. I was gonna say, it's like the same as putting a fucking rock in the ground. Like, I'm just gonna be dead ass honest with y'all. You wanna know what's one of the best solutions to plastic? You gather it all up into one fucking spot, you melt it into a giant fucking rock, and you bury it. What's it gonna do? It's just gonna be a rock.
What about
Make
those
plastic rocks and
fumes?
bury it. Done.
What about those fumes it releases, though? Like, as you
Do it
burn
in
it.
space.
Do it in
Do it. Space.
Burn our trash in
That's the answer.
space. Space
sense
is
to
our
me.
dumping ground.
No, I mean not like
No.
to offload it, because you don't want to necessarily like change the basic mass of the planet too fucking much.
Right, yeah,
It's
yeah.
also
No,
something that I
then we
worry
launch
about,
it at
like the effects
Mars.
of off-world mining. What'll happen to our axis tilt if we're taking on trillions of tons of like extraplanetary material? But that's a
Right.
whole nother fucking conversation.
Very,
you
very
you can
true.
tell I dive into some real theoretical shit
Yeah.
just off of that. But like I don't necessarily think we should be offloading shit from our planet either, because like it was once part of a healthy ecosystem where it was contained and utilized as like a part of the planet, and like taking stuff out of the planet seems like it's also just as stupid as like um you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I heard something like from a traditional knowledge source where like metals in the ground was like part of what helped regulate like fucking
Right.
electromagnetic fields in the areas of nature that like helps things work better in a way that's so big that we don't even understand it as fucking human beings, right? And
Right.
like when you start interfering with systems that are much larger than you or what you're capable of understanding at that given moment, then you have an intrinsic chance of fucking stuff up beyond repair,
Mhm.
right? And I don't necessarily think we should offload our garbage off the planet, but I also think that like if we are going to do something that will release noxious gases, we can, vent that
Mitigate.
shit into fucking space,
Right.
right?
We
Yeah.
also have actual means, by the way, like noxious gases doesn't like we don't have to. Like we actually
Hmm.
have the technology and the means to
Like
get rid of this
filter.
material, filter it so much that what's released is just perfectly clean air. So like, yeah,
We have the technology, but it's cheaper to keep dying.
exactly.
It's cheaper to poison poor people, is what it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
that too.
Yes.
Even though a lot of, these wealthy people claim it's like, well, the what do they say? Essentially like the technology needed to do this doesn't always look great. They always, although I don't agree. I think wind turbines look pretty, but like
Hmm.
Yeah, what's wrong with wind
I also happen
turbines?
to think that like the particular device I'm talking about, it kind of looks like an upside down garlic bulb. And
Hmm.
frankly, I would just paint it that way. Like I would just paint it to look
Like a
because
garlic.
I just paint it to look like a garlic. I know it's
Earth,
like
powered
weird,
by garlic.
but
Vampires
like
not welcome anymore.
but it looks like a garlic bulb upside down. Like it has like a thin, like sort of towery base and a big bulbous top.
Mm.
And I was like, you just paint it, like upside down garlic. Which is how you dry garlic anyway. How you preserve garlic if you're interested. But anyway, yeah. So I
I
don't
was
know.
just thinking about what you were saying about burying jars, because I had seen this, like, it was either like a Tumblr post. I think it was a Tumblr post, and someone was like, "Oh, young witch throws like glitter and like all these like non-decomposable toxic things right in a jar and like does a spell with the jar, throws jar into the bushes, jar breaks, all this shit spills out into the soil, plants die. Oh, why didn't my spell work? But when you're burying a jar, like it's padded around all that soil. Who the fuck is throwing a jar in a bush? Like, I don't don't throw jars in bushes. Bury your jar.
There's also biodegradable glitter now.
Yes, there
It's
is.
not super
You can also
expensive
get a
either.
hole puncher and some fucking leaves and make your own like confetti or whatever.
There are
Love
like 100 and there's seriously and there's purple leaves, there's orange leaves, there's red leaves and brown leaves, and the color associations with those would work for a lot of spells. Use gold leaves, the hole punch gold leaves for like success work. You can use purple for like mediumship and spirituality. Like there's all sorts of stuff.
You
You
can
know
use
what I'm saying?
flower petals. Like, come on.
I'm gonna do that thing that I do where I take something to a bigger level, right?
Mm.
All of this is happening because people have an addiction to shaming other people because they think it's actually a solution for
Hell
anything,
yeah.
really.
Yes.
I'm gonna shame you into not doing that anymore. No,
Absolutely.
you're fucking not. I'm just not. Like, we're just gonna create more problems. That's all we're doing.
But
Because people get really like dig their heels in. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people can't. Like if someone criticized me about like, I don't know, like you should use biodegradable garbage bags. Okay, you're right. They're also like $1 bazillion, and I can't afford that. So fuck you. You're not making me feel bad about something that I don't already fucking feel bad about. Like, come on.
So that's another thing. Like we also feel collectively really bad. Like, and when I say we, I mean like people who don't have excessive amounts of wealth.
Right.
We're kind of always to blame. It's weird
Right.
when statistically we rarely are.
Yeah, we're
You know,
not to
like-
blame. I'm done blaming myself because I'm really good at blaming myself for literally everything. I'm the reason why the world is such shit.
Yeah, because
According to
trauma.
me. According to me, because
Well, I
trauma.
mean, also, reasonably speaking, a lot of societal media made by rich people is like set up to gaslight people into thinking that they're responsible for a lot of the stuff that like they're not responsible
Right.
for.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Sophia, I have a message for you. So there's Corvax Creations has been in our chatting it up. But wanted to let you know, Twitch won't let them change a display name. It's Forest, actually. So I don't. Forest Horns from I think you're in our server too, aren't you?
Yeah, we wanted to have Forrest on the interview that one day.
Right.
With the Mnemosyne stuff.
What up?
Good to see you, Forrest. Thanks for
Yeah.
showing. Appreciate you.
I know we were
anybody who-
streaming for at least 30 minutes before the stream died, and we were at like 48
It was
minutes.
actually 50.
It was 50. Oh wow, so this has been like a 2-hour fucking episode. That
But-
explains why my bladder's about to explode.
Before we end, to kind of get back to the original topic, I did want to talk about spiritual ways in which to determine if your supplies
Are good?
have juice. Yeah. So obviously divination. I know a lot of people have feelings about the use of pendulums, but I actually still say, regardless of the what you call it effect, the thing that your hand still moves when you put your finger down.
Right.
I forget what it. I actually still think that the unconscious mind is where all the psychic mind resides. So I also think that using a pendulum over your products to see, make sure they still have some juice in them. That's always a good way. Also, too, sitting down with it and just vibing with psychic. Open up your psychic eye, and just see what you get. Relax, get into that headspace, and read the product. The energy is there. It's the same way when you connect with tree spirits. You gotta actually connect with what's in front of you. So honestly, divination. Divination's a great way to determine if what's the product you're getting is worthwhile.
Absolutely.
So you can even like saying about a divining source, like I bought it.
Hang on, you're cutting out 1 second.
Initially, it was very soft.
Wait. Damn. Every time.
Better?
Hang on, you're still cutting out. We gotta wait till you come back. Come back to life.
Am I better now?
Yes,
Yes.
you are better now.
Okay. I'll just repeat what I was saying because I
Yes.
can hear y'all this whole time. Like for example, you can even divine about an object that you use to divine. I have a tarot deck I bought called the Macabre Tarot. And when I did my first reading with it, it was really pissed off. It was like, fuck you.
Oh, you're cutting out again.
Oh, we lost you. Yeah.
What
Oh,
if
you're back.
I give an offering of incense to each card?
There you go.
And immediately it was like, oh, yeah, I could do this, sure. And then like, it gives me really good readings right after that. And like, I went and did a bunch for different people, and they were like, yeah, it fucking was pretty spot on. So,
Trust the
yeah,
random
even just,
thoughts
like-
that pop into your head. Maybe
yeah,
they're
like I
placed
was
there for a
divining
reason.
about the deck itself, right? And its initial response was, you didn't even really want me as a divining deck, you just wanted a fucking aesthetic choice deck. So I treated it like it was a divining deck, and it was like, oh, well, okay. And yeah, so you can even do it with like your fucking cards, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Check what kind of deck you got.
So divine, yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Divine your stuff. You know, divine your tools. Get to know them. I actually kind of do like that whole like interview the tarot thing. I actually kind of enjoy that.
Interview with the Tarot, like a spoof of the Anne Rice novel.
For real though, like anybody who's really, really read tarot, you do have to know your decks. They have individual personalities. Like and individual decks from the same printing can have different fucking personalities.
Actually, this could be a whole new topic. Do we want to talk about this next session?
Yeah, we'll do that next. Yeah, let's do that next time.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
So next session, we'll kind of start it off with talking about like the different personalities of different divining tools and decks and all sorts of stuff like that. That sounds like a cool topic. Someone write
Well,
that down
sick.
in the Discord before I forget. Brew, if you
Scott
would
will
be so
remember
kind.
it because they got
I
really
got it.
excited about today's topic, so
Brew
I have
got
a
it.
feeling they're gonna like yeah.
Yeah, Brew's gonna write it down in the Discord, so we're
Oh,
good.
okay.
Oh, we got it.
So any concluding thoughts before we sign off for today?
Nope.
No, I gave mine.
That's fair.
That was
Yeah,
mine.
that was kind of
Yeah.
like your concluding thought.
Yeah. I said a
Alright.
lot this episode.
Yeah, this was a long one. I'm gonna have to go in and grab the 2 recordings. But remember to do that, since it's split in half. But yeah, so I think that kind of wraps up like our discussion today. I know we talked a lot. I feel like we did cover enough of the main topic to say that
Well,
we
we
did
certainly
justice
did.
to the
I
main
mean,
topic. I
yeah.
think we did good.
I think we really hit our point. You
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
did.
we have a past episode that we talked about occult shops as well, more like about the vibes of cult shops and kind of how to tell a good one from a bad one. I don't know the number of the episode, but I think it was titled something like "A Good Occult Shop is like a temple where you buy shit at." So I use a lot of Sophia's quotes as episode titles because they're very on point. Very, very.
I try.
Oh, by the way, we mentioned in a previous episode how we were like joking about like the blessed bee, the blessed fucking bee.
Blessed fucking bee.
Katie has started to sketch a bee for us to
God,
use.
yes.
So she's
blessed
determined to
fucking
make
bird.
us a blessed fucking bee, and I'm very excited about that.
I'm excited.
Goodness.
So with that,
real quick, if we did, Jay, if we like made that merch,
yeah,
would we be able to work with like a bee company to give some of the sales money to like helping
yeah.
bees?
Actually,
Yeah.
I'll find the one that
Local
Jim.
bees.
Yeah, Jim had us donate to an
For
apiary.
Canada and here.
Yeah, we
There's
could look
Liberty
at
Bell
both.
beekeepers. I just know them off the top of.
Yeah,
my
there's
head,
like a
so
couple
there's
like right here in Philly that are here. But
But
I
I
know,
do want to help bees in Canada too, not just
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So we'll kind of like split it between both. We'll just like have
that'd
it.
be cool.
Yeah, like we
That'd
do
be
with
cool.
our cat beneficiary for Pagan Pride. We just split it.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, so look up some Canadian like bee apiaries. That's the same fucking thing. Anyway, I have to pee really bad, so I guess we'll go now.
All right.
All right.
Bye everyone. Thank you for listening.
It
Bye,
was great.
everyone.
Thanks for coming.
We will see you in the next
Bye.
one. Sorry for the technical
Bye.
difficulties in the middle, but hopefully it doesn't happen
Yeah.
again.
all good.
Bye, everyone.
We all know it well.
Bye.
Oh.